Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into something super exciting, that is performing CRUD operations using SQL Server with Dapper in .NET 8 Web API. If you are used to Entity Framework, you might wonder, why bother with Dapper? Well, let me tell you why you shouldn't always stick to just Entity Framework. Imagine this, you are working on a high performance application that needs to handle thousands of queries per second. With Entity Framework, you sometimes get a bit of performance hit because it abstracts a lot of things, which is great for productivity but not always ideal for speed. That is where Dapper comes in. It is a micro ORM, lightweight, super fast, and lets you have full control over your SQL queries. Think of it like this. Entity Framework is like a self-driving car. It is easy, comfortable, and it does a lot of things for you automatically. But sometimes you need the agility of a car racing where you are in control of every move. That is Dapper. It gives you the flexibility to write your own SQL queries exactly how you want it and still maps them nicely to your .NET objects. So in today's video, I'm going to show you step by step how to build a web API using Dapper to perform CRUD operation with SQL Server. So if you are ready to jump your database operations to the next level and learn something new beyond Entity Framework, then let's hop right in. I have my web API project created, and that is the default. The very first thing that we need to do is install our packages. So let's go to our projects, dependencies, and let's go and manage our packages. The main package here, it is Dapper, so we cannot go without installing Dapper. Let's get this package installed. We also need this package, Microsoft.data.sql client. So once we have these packages installed, we are not performing code first migration with Dapper, so we don't need to create a DB context. We have an interface created for us automatically, which comes with the package that we have installed. So all that we need to do here is to go to the create our service, our repo with our interface implementation, inject this DB connection interface, and start working with this. But first, let's go to solution, go to your app setting.json, and in here, let's specify our connection here. So maybe we're going to say this is going to be our connection string. Let's give it a name as default connection. And now within that, we need to specify our server. So we're going to have our server. Also going to have our database. Then let's have our user ID, that is SA. Then we're going to have our password, so that is root. Aside from that, let's have trust server certificate. Set this to true. Now let's launch your SSMS and let's connect to our database. So it is open, and now I'm using the SQL Server authentication. But if you're using the window authentication, then you don't need to connect. You can just go straight and use the window authentication setup. But since I'm using the SQL Server, I need to provide the password, that is root, and make sure you trust server certificate. Let's get connected. And then here we right click on our server or database folder and I create new database. Let's give it a name. So I'm going to say demo product DB, and let's copy this database name. Let's click on OK to create this database. Now let's come here and paste in our database. Left with our server. So let's right click on this, go to properties, and here you can grab this, that is your server, and paste this here. Quite simple. Alright, so now that you are done with this, let's go and create a table in there. So in here, in our tables, we can click on new query. Since you have a database created, when we have a new query, we're going to click here and choose the database that we created, that is demo product DB. So in here, let's create a simple table, which is going to have a property that we're going to be creating as a model. So you can see from here, we are having create table. The name is product. We have an ID, name, and our price. This is decimal and varchar as the respective data type. Now let's click on execute. You make sure you selected the database that you created, and now we have it in here. So if you click on demo product DB and click on tables, we must have this table, this product table in there, and we have it. Okay, so we can close this, or we can have select star from product. Now we can highlight only this and now execute it because you have an ID, name, and price. Great. So let's go ahead and let's go to our application, and in here let's create an interface. So let's have our interface. That's going to be new item interface. So this is iProduct. Okay, so let's create a model so we can use this model as a payload into our interfaces. So right click and let's add. Now the table this model property should match with the column name that we specify in the database, and I believe you are aware of that. So we need to create 3 separate models, and that is a property. We have an ID, name, and price. Great. So now that we have this, we go to our interface, and in here we're going to create a CRUD. That's going to be add products. We're going to take in update products, delete products, and also get product by ID, and now get all. So I have this interface prepared at hand. Let's see. So I have get product by ID, add, update, and delete. Anytime that we save, it's going to return an integer. When the operation is successful, you're going to have integer greater than 0. So as soon as the ID here, or the return type, it is lesser or equal to 0, it tells you that there's something wrong. So we can check from that. Let's go and create our repository for this. So maybe down here we can have a public class, and that is product repo. This should inherit from iProduct. And now with this, let's implement the interfaces. Now within here, let's use primary constructor by injecting our IDB connection, which will come from the Dapper. So let's pass it in IDB connection, and now it's coming from system.data instead. Then we're going to have DB connection. Okay, so with this we need to first select. So we need to first create our query, then we execute the query. You create it, you execute it. That is what we're doing. You create it, then we execute it. So with the create, we need to make here as an async. Then in order to create it, we need to create our own SQL query. And to create that is quite simple. Insert into product, that is the table name, and I believe you are aware, you know this. And here we provide the properties, that is the columns. So we know since you have an SQL, it's going to automatically seed the ID column as a primary key. So we need not to provide value to it. So we need to provide values to the name and the price. These are the columns, and these are the models that we're going to map. So it's going to map this, and we must make sure that these models are found in here in this model. So these properties here, or these variables, must be found as the name in this model. And definitely when you check this, we do have it because you and I created this together. So we have them in here as name and price respectively. Great. That is quite simple. Just 2 lines of code and you're done. You can even make this as just a single line. But well, to make things simple for everybody, we can put them in these two lines. Let's go to delete and see how we're going to work with that. Delete is also quite simple. Delete from product, that is a table where ID is equal to, and that is all. So we need to provide an ID as a parameter. And how do you provide parameter? Quite simple. Check it out. So that's the way to provide an ID as a parameter. So delete from product, where ID here, ID, it is a column, is equal to 1 here, it is a variable. This variable here, it is holding the place of this ID as a payload coming in. Well, this is a parameter, yes. So this should be an async, and after the operation successfully done, it's going to return an integer. So we could see execute returns an integer. Can you see this? So we return that in here. Let's see get all. Now select star from product. This is quite simple, the simplest SQL query ever. So that is a select star from the table name, and that is all. We're going to get everything and I return it. So query async returns IEnumerable of product. Since we specify the type, it returns an IEnumerable of product, and we can return the same thing as a return type. Make this as async to get the issue off. Now let's see the next two. Get by ID, select from or select name, etc. Let's see how we can get this ID. We can make it either select. If you want to select columns, right, maybe you can do select name and price. Because here, if you want to pick only the columns, but in this case, you want to pick everything, starting from the ID, name, and price. So in this case, you need to use select star from product, where ID is equal to that. The same thing applies to the delete. But here, instead of delete, it's going to be select. But in case you want to pick a specific columns, that is where you need to remove this. So select, then provide the properties or the column name, such as name, and now the decimal, that is the price. Yeah, that's the price. Then y is equal to 1 to get it. Great. So let's have an async to close that. Last one is an update, and this is also quite simple. Update product, then we set the name, and now these are the variables. We set them to the column respectively. And that is all. So set name to this variable, price to this variable, where ID, because here we are not updating the ID. ID is a primary key, so we need not to update it. That is what you're going to use to specify or to locate the specific record. So we need not to update this ID. So we use that to retrieve the record, and we can update it based on the model that we have in here as a payload. Make it as an async. So you can see that creating this or using Dapper is quite simple. It's very, very simple. Now you are in control of your own query. So if you want to create your own specific query, you can do it and execute it, making it fast and high performance ORM. All right, so once that we have this, we can extract this to its own class. We need to register this, so let's go to program and let's register. So that services.add scope, so that is an I product. Then here we say it is product repo. Aside from this, we need to also register SQL connection. So we can also put this on top here. So we specify our connection, our singleton IDB, that's the interface connection. We specify SQL connection. Since we are connected to an SQL, we specify that, and we're grabbing the connection from the app settings. The name here should match exactly with what we have in the app settings, so we can cross-check. Okay. So after we are done with this, what is the next thing that we want to do again? We have everything set. Great. Let's save this. Let's go and create controller to handle this. So in the controller, let's add controller, and that will be product controller. Now with this product controller, we want to have, we first need to inject the interface. So product, then let's have products. Our first interface, maybe we can make it as product repo. Okay, then our first endpoint, let's say get all. So for get all, we want to have an action result. This, we're making this as generic, but if you want to make it typed, then you can specify the return type. You know, this returning action of what? List of products. So you can decide to remove this and make it action results. If you want to make it an explicit, then you need to specify the product. Just so that here we are restricting this endpoint that it should return nothing else like list of products. So we forgot the list, we should add that. Okay, since this is a demo purpose, we are using this action result, and which will also work. Okay, now let's go to the next one, get by ID. And now from get by ID, we call this endpoint, and I return get by ID. So we call the get by ID, pass it on. In case the ID is not, you want to return not found, else then we want to do this. So we can just use a simple method or a simple ternary operator to handle that. So we can scrap all this, then we can say that return product is now, then return not found, else return okay with the product. So just one line is handling what we did. Quite simple and amazing stuff. Let's go to the post. So here we're going to create, we want to specify this as coming from a body. So this is coming from a body, and here we must provide this model. For now, we are not adding any validations to it because we are not connecting to any client. We add it, then we provide at the end. We want to call this get by ID. We call this method get by ID. Then here it takes an ID, so you also provide the ID in here, and that is all. So we can get what we just inserted. Or maybe this is going to return an ID, so we can check first in case we have the ID is greater than 0, meaning when it is successfully created, that is where we want to do this. So let's say if we need to store the response, this response should be an integer, so we can explicitly specify the data type as integer. So we are saying if this integer is equal to 0, you want to return maybe bad request, meaning it couldn't save, there was an issue, else then this is going to happen. So that is what we are doing here. Normally I like to use this else to make sure I know what I'm doing. Okay, so the next thing is we want to update it, and for update we take in the ID. So we want to check our update from the product service, the product repo. Check it up. For update, we take in this, right? So that's the model, and then here we're going to take in, we don't need this ID. The ID should be specified from here, and we don't want to take in an ID before we update it, and we do that. So after updating, return no content. This is going to return 1, so we can check. So we can also cache this, so that time make sure you do not return just no content. At least you should, in the controller, you should find a way to make sure the operation is successful. So explicitly data type, you can say results is what, and we're saying if this or return int is greater than 0, then return no content, else you can return bad results. Let's remove this, save it. We don't need ID here, then we have delete. So for delete, we need to do same. Let's grab this and let's cache, or let's store the response, which returns an ID as an integer. So we have the controller created. Great. So when you check this program, I think we have nothing left, no issue now. We have our service created and registered. We have our connection string also done here, and what is left is to go ahead and run this. Let's give it a try. So it is ready. Let's go and try this out. So get, we should return an array. As soon as you get that, it means the connection has been established well. Oh yeah, amazing, we got it. Let's make add. So we're not going to provide an ID. This is product 1. Let's give any random amount. Execute this. Oh, okay, you can see it. Let's add another one, product 2. We have it, and now if I go to get our products, I must get it. I have it here. If I go to get, this one is put, so provide an ID. Okay, now with this ID, we are saying this ID, it is 1, and we are saying product 1 updated, and let's have 100 or 1000, etc. Execute this, and we are having 204. Let's find this out from get our product. Execute this, and we have it. Let's see last one. No, not last one. Get by ID 2. We have it, and delete it. The same 2. Delete it. Now let's go and get the same 2 from here. Oh, not found. We got it. So you can see we've seen how to create this CRUD operation using Dapper in the simplest way ever. And that is it, folks. So I hope you've enjoyed this dive into CRUD operation with Dapper in .NET 8 Web API. And as you saw, Dapper gives you the speed and flexibility to handle database operations with just a few lines of code, while still letting you stay in control of your SQL queries. If you are looking for a lightweight, high-performance alternative to Entity Framework, or if you just want to learn something new and expand your toolkit, Dapper is definitely worth a try. Let me know in the comments if you have any question, or if you are planning to even use Dapper in your next project. And don't forget to hit the like button if you found this video helpful, and subscribe for more awesome .NET content. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again, and take care.